about the economy. Jim Webb, when you were running, you said, I'm not just running about Iraq, I'm running about what I see happening to the economy in this country, the divisions between rich and poor, as a Jacksonian Democrat. And let me show you an op-ed piece that you wrote on Wednesday for the Wall Street Journal, and have both you and John Tester talk about it. The most important issue in politics today is our society's steady drift toward a class-based system, the likes of which we have not seen since the 19th century. America's top tier has grown infinitely richer and more removed over the last 25 years. It is not unfair to say that they are literally living in a different country. Few among them send their children to public schools. Fewer still send their loved ones to fight our wars. They own most of our stocks. The top 1% now takes in an astounding 16% of national income. This ever-widening divide is too often ignored or downplayed by its beneficiaries. A sense of entitlement has set in among elites, bordering on hubris. When I raised this issue with corporate leaders during the recent political campaign, I was met repeatedly with denials and, from some, an overt lack of concern for those who are falling behind. A troubling arrogance is in the air among the nation's most fortunate. With this new Congress, American workers have a chance to be heard in ways that have eluded them for more than a decade. Nothing is more important for the health of our society than to grant them the validity of their concerns, and our government leaders have no greater duty than to confront the growing unfairness in this age of globalization. Very strong words. What do we do? Roll back tax cuts, roll back trade agreements? What do we do?
No, I strongly believe that it's the most important issue facing our country. We have corporate profits at an all-time high, salaries at an all-time low as a percentage of our national wealth. And it's sort of a three-tiered problem, a very difficult problem. It's going to take years to break it down. The first is, what is fair trade in the age of globalization? We can talk about free trade agreements, but when are they not fair? China's the best example of that, where we have a situation now rather similar to what we were seeing with Japan 20 years ago, but much more dangerous in terms of its size and the issues of national security, where you have a devalued currency that is enabling them to bring goods into this country at a very low price, and at the same time, they're using that money to help finance our national debt. We're becoming dependent on them. The second is, what has happened to the American workers in this environment? Because when you look at the movement from GATT toward the WTO, the American workers, the workers around the world, were not addressed as an issue in terms of fairness. So we have situations here, different type of economic and governmental system. Where do you pay health benefits? Where do you pay retirement benefits in the different countries? What's equality of condition on a workplace? That all goes to the worker. And then the third is, who is benefiting from the larger benefits of globalization? It's not getting down to the workers, and that can be addressed, in my view, at a starting point through corporate tax loopholes. There are many of them. Through how the tax code is structured in a way that benefits the top 1%. But this is an issue. It's not just rich and poor anymore. It's an issue of what is happening to workers worldwide and how the American worker fits into it. And that is my number one priority as a senator.
John Tester, do you share that concern? And would you be willing to roll back the one tax cut of the Bush administration on the top 1% and look at trade agreements?
Well, I think we do need to look at trade agreements for some of the reasons that Jim Webb just talked about. As I go around the state of Montana, you see more and more people working more and more jobs trying to make ends meet, and I've got story after story about folks who are really having trouble making their budget balance. And it ends up, where we have a society where there's no middle class, and the working poor aren't being addressed. And I think we do need to address. I think we need to address it in the tax code, make sure we have a tax code that works for the middle class, small business, working families, family farms and ranches, and make sure that those people are empowered to move our economy forward. Those are the folks really that brought us here. It was a vibrant middle class, and they've been forgotten about over the last many years, and it's time to show them some attention. And when you look at the tax cuts from the Bush administration, let's look at it from a middle class. Let's look at those tax cuts that empower the middle class and move forward. And I can't agree more with what Jim said about the trade, free trade versus fair trade, devalued dollars, and workers' rights in other countries. We've got to make sure these trade agreements work for us in other countries, so we're not continually pushing jobs out of this country.